So I'm sorry for that. I was trying to set up my slides and we are now ready to go. So in Leviticus chapter 23, from verse 28 all the way to 30, we see something very interesting, a feast called the Feast of the Atonement. The Feast of the Atonement. The Feast of the Atonement was a yearly service that the priest could do in the sanctuary. I believe most of us are aware of what the sanctuary basically is. So the sanctuary was more of a tabernacle through which Christ ordained, or God ordained, that our sins to be washed and purged from us. It's a system that heaven's ordained for our salvation. It's a way of life, spiritually and physically. It was a building. And so, in verses that we've just read, there's a feast that is likened to the services of the sanctuary. That is the atonement. The Day of Atonement used to be a yearly service, and the priest used to go into the most holy place, the holiest of holies, to make atonement of the sins of the Israelites. And during this Day of Atonement, there are certain things that were required of the children of Israel. One, they were to afflict their souls. That's the main thing that was required of them, to afflict their souls. And so as we know that the sanctuary, actually, it typifies the sanctuary typifies what we currently, the sanctuary that was built on earth was basically just a type of the sanctuary in heaven. And in the sanctuary that was on earth, the services that were there were just types and shadows of things that were supposed to come. An example is this, that I want to draw attention to: the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement, it was a type of what Christ currently is doing in heaven. Because the priest used to go to the most holy place to make atonements of sin. And currently, right now, if you read Hebrews chapter 8, chapter 9, you'll realize that Christ is in the most holy place, making atonement for our sins. That's why when you read Revelation chapter 14, it's a beautiful thing. We are studying the cosmic messages as our quarterly lesson, in our quarterly lesson, Sabbath school lessons. And last Sabbath, we talked about the judgment hall. We basically just talked about the theme judgment. And the judgment is introduced to us first in Daniel chapter 7, from verse 9 all the way to, I believe, verse 11. That if you read it keenly, you'll see a transition. You'll see the Son of Man transcending from the holy place into the most holy place. And that marks the beginning of judgment, the Day of Atonement, a day when sin is supposed to be purged. And most importantly, it's a day when we need to afflict our souls. It's a day that we need to prepare our hearts and make it right with our God. It's a day when we really need to ensure and try very hard to be holy, just as Christ is, just as his Father in heaven is. In Matthew 5:48, we are told that, "Be perfect as my Father in heaven is perfect." In 2 Peter chapter 1, from verse 7 all the way down up to verse 11, you learn that we are a priesthood. And the Bible calls us a holy nation, a peculiar people in the world. And so we are supposed to be holy. And By being holy, what the Israelites did was to afflict their souls and deny themselves not their necessary food, but to afflict their souls and deny themselves pleasure, the pleasure of the world. And they used to fast, yes, from food at that particular time. But what the attention mostly was called to was to put an end to their sins, And interestingly, currently we are living in that particular day of the atonement. And we are required to do the very same things that the children of Israel did at the day of the atonement. And what did they do? They afflicted their souls. We've seen that they afflicted their souls. And so we are required to afflict our souls. And when we go to Isaiah chapter 58, we are required to afflict our souls. We are required to fast. When we go to Isaiah chapter 58, you'll see there listed down by the prophet Isaiah some of the true ways in which heaven has ordained our affliction and fasting to go. Yes, we can kindly turn to Isaiah 58. In Isaiah 58, we see heaven ordained paths for fasting. My Bible says right and wrong fasting. And when you read the whole chapter, Isaiah 58, you learn that. Let's read verse 3. Wherefore have we fasted? These are guys who are afflicting their souls or denying themselves their necessary food to worship God. But then in verse 3 we see them struggling. Okay, let's just read from verse 1 so that we can get the context. Verse 1 says, "Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and shew my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins." Imagine God is saying that his people are transgressing. The house of Jacob is in sin. Yet these people are fasting. They are fasting in prayer. What was God really seeing in them that really they were blind to sin? Verse 2, "Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways. As a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinances of their God, they ask me the ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching to God. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast ye find pleasure, and exalt all your labors." That's the problem that God had with them. In the day of their fast, they did what? They seeked pleasure. They exacted all their labors. Yet, in the day of the atonement, when you read those verses, they were required to do no work. They were required to seek no pleasure. Anything of their own, they were not supposed to do it. Verse 4, "Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, to smite with the feast of wickedness." So in verse 4, what is brought to our view is the condition of their heart, not the outward appearance that any man could see. So God saw, yes, these guys are fasting, but they're not fasting in the right way. It is true, these guys, they're afflicting their souls, but their hearts are not right with me. And so what is the problem? Verse 5, "Is it not such a fast that I have chosen?" What type of fast? I see someone has raised their hand. Someone has their hands raised. Kondwani, do you wanted to say something? You want to say something? Or is it just a mistake? Allow me just to finish the devotion, then I'll give you an opportunity to speak. I believe everyone is getting my voice. Oh, that's not the problem. So in verse 4, we are told that behold, ye fast for strife. The condition of their hearts is not right. And so in our fasting, in affliction of our souls, what is required of us is righteousness in heart and the outward appearance. In verse 6, this is mentioned. Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. So the second thing that is brought to our attention here is compassion work. So heavens requires us in our times of fasting to do simply what is known as benevolent work. And that is what is brought to be in verse 7, from verse 6, 7, 8, going on forward. And I believe that we know what benevolent work is, or other works of compassion. And this is what the children of Israel missed a lot in. And it's very interesting that to us as a church, God has given us an avenue through which we can carry out this work of benevolence and compassion. God has ordained and calculated certain paths that we can actually get hold of this work of benevolence and fast right, or rather just believe on each of the atonement. And here comes the medical missionary work. It's one of the ways you can actually do compassion work or benevolent work to people. And so it's a very important work. It's a very important duty. Someone without sharing, okay. If you have the E.G. White Estate in your phone or in your laptop, let's kindly go to Ministry of Healing, page 239, paragraph 3. Allow me just to get there. 239, paragraph 3. It says something interesting about the medical missionary work. We are told that the medical missionary work is the gospel, is the compassion of Christ revealed. Let me get there. MM 239.3, 239.3. Okay, I'm there. So it says, actually, it's a very beautiful top chapter. To open doors, you can read the whole chapter. It says, paragraph 3, medical missionary work brings to humanity the gospel of release from suffering. That is number one. It brings to humanity the gospel of release from suffering. It is the pioneer work of the gospel. It is the gospel practiced, the compassion of Christ revealed. Christ says that if I be lifted to the world, then I draw people unto me. How can we lift Christ to the world? How can we reveal him to the world? Inspiration says that, and I quote, I know of no better way of revealing Christ to the world than taking hold of the medical missionary work. We are told that the medical missionary work is the right arm of the gospel. It is the pioneer work. It is the starting work. It is the foundational work of the gospel. And so this is a work that is required of all church members. If you read Helpful Living, page 19, paragraph 5, you'll see that it is a duty for each and every individual to become intelligent in regards to disease, its causes and cures. And when you read Counsels on Health, page 506, the same paragraph 1, you'll see that there's a time that is coming. Actually, if you read page 506 and you read page 533, in page 533, you'll be told that there's a time that is coming when there'll be no work left in the ministerial line aside from the medical missionary work. In CH 506, that is Counsels on Health. Someone wants to join. Counsels on Health, page 506, it's paragraph 1. We are told that there's a time that is coming when we'll be placed in unfavorable conditions for us to actually point people to Christ, or to publicly just profess our faith, to publicly just do missionary work. And at that time, the spiritual prophecy says in that same paragraph that medical missionary work will prove beneficial. And so I just want to tell us all that we are indeed in the right place, and we have indeed made the right choice, because inspiration is always right. And in page 127, paragraph 1, we are told that the only hope of better things is in the education of people in preventive medicine, rather than curing. It is okay to know how to cure diseases. It is okay to know how to manage diseases once someone contracts a disease, but it is better to teach them how they can prevent themselves from a lot of pain, a lot of aches. And so Gems of Insight is an online school that really endeavors to do that. And so Gems of Insight, today I just want to take us through an orientation of what Gems of Insight is and what kind of ministry it is. I believe we didn't do this with the first group. That's why I decided that we should just have a joint meeting today and have this meeting once and for all. So yes, your hand is raised, Nenula. You can kindly raise your concern.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to give me the chapter that you were reading. Isaiah, is it Isaiah what?
I don't know why I'm not getting you. I had my ear. I connected my. Okay, you can kindly speak again. I forgot my phone was connected to.
Okay, I was saying that I was looking for the chapter that you're reading. Is it Isaiah what? Chapter what? Basically, I didn't get you on that one because I was a little bit late. So I wanted the chapter that you are reading from verse 1, I think, up to 6. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So it's Isaiah chapter 58. Isaiah chapter 58. And in Isaiah chapter 58, actually, inspiration advises us as medical missionaries to become acquainted with this particular verse, because medical missionary work is brought in broad view in Isaiah 58. In every line, in every verse of Isaiah 58, you'll see clearly depicted and painted the medical missionary work, the work that is desired of us in this Day of Atonement. That is the affliction of souls. Actually, this work it will always it humbles people. Actually, I remember times in missions that I used to hide from masses to just have personal time with myself to just be free and talk with myself, just have quality time with myself, because it's a work that requires a lot, and you'll always be in contact, mostly when you're placed in a mission site as a medical missionary. If you go there a lot, you'll okay. the experience won't really be, it won't really be that nice because of the nature of the work and how burdensome it is. But we have hope in John chapter 15, verse 5. If there's nothing that we cannot do with Christ. So it's a work that humbles. It's a work that actually I believe that God has calculated it. To anyone who takes hold of it, God has calculated it to help us to actually shed off certain tendencies that we are weak to, certain evil and certain sins that we are normally weak to do, that we are normally quick to commit. So it's a work through which God is using to actually help perfect our characters. And so Gems of Insight, currently it's an online school that offers preventive teachings of preventive medicine alongside management of diseases. And so it's a health ministry. And today what we'll be talking about, I don't know why my slides are not moving. Well, I don't know why my slides are not moving. Okay, it has moved to the next. So an overview of what we want to talk about today. I'll just read to us a welcome message, then just a vision, a drafted vision and mission, and some milestones that we've taken since Gems of Insight was pioneered. Then we'll talk a bit of our services and about us, Gems of Insight. We'll talk about our goals, our ongoing projects. Then we'll finally look at this slide that will encourage us, or rather that simply is a call for us to work together as a family. Okay, so that's my picture. To those who have never seen me before, that one there is my picture. Not that very old, but I'm old. So if you can see what is written, if you can't see, I'll read it out loud. Gems of Insight is a health ministry that was pioneered in 2021. That was April, and it started out as a blog site. That was a time when I was actually, should I say obsessed? Obsessed is really, yeah, obsessed is the word for it. I was obsessed about medical missionary work. That's 2021. I was obsessed about medical missionary work after attending several health Sabbaths in my local church. And from the testimonies of the medical missionaries and from the protocol treatments that they gave us, from the health and lifestyle advices that they give, they really helped my mom. My mom has had during this time she was having ulcers, chronic ulcers that she struggled with for 2 years, taking medicine, several antibiotics, but they really couldn't work the magic that they were claimed for. And so she continued using them anyways until I came across some treatment called some juice that medical missionary called a protocol juice. And in that juice, allow me read you the components of the juice. So when I told my mom about that particular juice that the medical missionary called a protocol juice, and she started using it, after a week she was out of the antibiotics she was taking, and the ulcers was, it toned down, her ulcers toned down. And from that, I really fell in love with medical missionary work, and started doing my own research and reading about it until 2022, when I decided to take a course with LIGHT. LIGHT is the Lay Institute of Global Health Training. And it was really hard for me finding a good institution, or just a good platform that offers medical missionary trainings as I expected them to do. I really struggled a lot finding one, and the charges were very high. And I was actually privileged when LIGHT was offering this training. They were offering it at a subsidized price. We did it for 1 year, and we used to pay it monthly, 1,000 shillings. I really don't know how much that dollar is, but in Kenyan shillings, it's 1,000. It's 1,000 Kenyan shillings. That it approximates to about, is it $10? About $12, yeah, about $12. And we used to pay it monthly for 12 months. That's a whole year doing the training. And that's 12,000. Though it was still a bit expensive, but it was after a very long struggle of looking for somewhere and just a platform to learn about health, to learn about medical missionary work. And basically that's just what informed my decision of rebirthing Gems of Insight into an online school where we can offer easily at a cost-effective price medical missionary trainings, quality trainings. To be honest, I didn't really get what I was expecting from the Lay Institute of Global Health Training, but for a start, it was a good training. But I was actually expecting to learn a lot of anatomy and physiology there, which really they didn't offer deeply. And I was expecting to learn a lot about herbology, which they really didn't offer. I later learned that they offer different course on herbology. They offer different course on herbology, which you will pay for. So the protocol juice that was recommended were 2 tomatoes, 2 carrots, 1 medium-sized onion, 2 cloves of garlic, dark green leafy vegetable, just a handful, and a quarter cabbage. So if you want to take it for a very long time, you'll always want to include 1 teaspoon of kelp, or any good source of iodine that you know of. But kelp is normally very available. So that's the protocol juice that really helped. So this not having met its full purpose. So I was reading the first slide. The sole purpose being education on preventive and lifestyle medicine. This not having met its full purpose, that's the blog site. I had some plans to reorganize what I had purposely planned. In 2021, I was just writing health articles and sharing it to all the WhatsApp platforms that I belonged to. But I found that not effective. And so I envisioned a new idea of just coming up with lessons, daily lessons, random lessons to just learn about health. And so a program I decided to rebirth, Gems of Insight, as an online training school for medical missionaries. That was around 2022. It was around after my training in LIGHT. That was around, I believe, September. So about Gems of Insight, further insight about Gems of Insight. Gems of Insight is a health ministry determined to equip its trainees a practical knowledge of preventive and lifestyle medicine at a pocket-friendly fee, at their different environs, and various circumstances without anybody being inconvenienced. And what we really aspire as a vision is we aspire to build a physical training institute that is in Kenya, just a school of training, which will double up as a retreat center and a sanitarium for medical missionary workers to equip them with necessary knowledge to help them minister to the needs of the sick in relieving their pain as they point them to Jesus. That's what our aspiration basically is in a draft. And our mission is to equip our members, anyone who comes through Gems of Insight, and those who they'll get in touch with in the world, in the large world out there, necessary practical knowledge in disease, its causes, prevention and treatment, and management. As I told you guys, if you read Healthful Living, that is HHL, page 19.5, you'll understand that it is our duty as Christians to be informed. I think we should just read it. Let's just read it. Let me open it in my GY tab so that if anyone is there, you can kindly read it if you get there before me. HL 19.5, HL 19.5. If you get there before me, you can just read it. So Healthful Living, page 19, paragraph 5, it says, it is the duty of every human being for his own sake and for the sake of humanity to inform himself or herself in regard to the laws of organic life and consciously to obey them. It is the duty of every person to become intelligent in regard to disease and its cause. You must study your Bible in order to understand the value that the Lord places on men whom Christ has purchased at such an infinite price. Then we should become acquainted with the laws of life, that every action of the human agent may be in a perfect harmony with the laws of God. When there is so great peril in ignorance, is it not best to be wise in regard to human habitation, fitted up by our Creator, and over which He desires that we shall be stewards? And so our vision is to actually actualize what inspiration pens down in Healthful Living, page 19, paragraph 5. And so our goals, simply put, on a draft, is to build a sanitarium, and in it have a school and some retreat program which people can sign to seasonally, monthly, as it will be planned when this plan or goal is actualized. The second one is start a treatment room and a herbal store. That is by the end of next year. The Spirit of Prophecy will see actually these guidelines. We'll see when talking about the principles of health and the principles of health and living, we'll talk about treatment rooms, we'll talk about herbal stores, and we'll see what inspiration says about them. We are advised as a people to have sanitariums, we are advised as a people to have treatment rooms and herbal stores, to actually use them as agencies to minister to the world out there. And so it's actually our goal to actualize what the Spirit of Prophecy pens. And I believe in the spirit of John 15 verse 5 that with Christ everything. Okay, it doesn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing. It says that without me you can do nothing. The very last statement. So when you negate it, it simply means with Christ everything is possible. And we'll also be planning for yearly mission activities that we purpose to begin planning in 2025, when I'll be less busy with schoolwork. So milestones, what we've achieved so far. In 2021, we started out as blogs we started out writing blogs, and that was actualized, though it really didn't fully meet the needs, because with time, the visions that I had for the health ministry continued expanding, and I thought that just running a blog ministry really won't help and be that impactful enough. And so we decided in 2022, and Gems of Insight was rebirthed into an online school. And we began with some free random trainings on disease, its causes and treatments. We used to talk about fibroids. We used to talk about diseases that are quite common. And from talking about the diseases that are quite common, we decided in 2023, that was February 2023, we decided to begin officially systematic online trainings on medical missionary work, because just having random trainings on disease really won't be effective, because the best way to master medicine, the best way to master the healing art is to know anatomy in-depthly, to know physiology in-depthly, and to know how these organs actually functions or rather relate to each other. And so talking about diseases without anatomy and physiology really won't equip us effective that much. Will be effective, but not that much. So until date, that's it. We are currently offering our first training, which from the looks of things, it will end in August. It's supposed to end in July, but from the look of things, it will end in August. And then our second training is starting on May. And I'll tell you why we decided to offer second training while the first training is still going on. I'll tell you why in a few. So our first training is going on, and in total, we normally have an attendance of averagely 13, and we have 2 people who fully paid for the training, and 1 person paid half, and the rest of 3 people paid fully, 1 person paid half, and the rest of the 9 really didn't make any payments. But our mission and our vision really was to offer these trainings freely and to equip us with the necessary tools that we need to evangelize at a cost-friendly price. And so we decided to not lock anybody out, but just share the knowledge that we've learned over time with them. And we planned to bring trainers, to source trainers, but due to the low registration and also the low resources, I decided to just indulge one friend of mine called Elisha, so that we can just help each other with that low price to actually just share what we've learned about the medical missionary work so far. And we currently have a project. We currently have projects. And we started our second training specifically to help us meet one of the goals, one of the reasons, to help us meet one of our projects. So we have 2 projects. Number 1, our first project is buying a camera. Our second project is creating a website, and not a blog site, but a website, a good website that can function as a school. As you know, Gems of Insight currently it's an online school. And so what we envision is to create a website that will act to us as a school where we can get all the trainings, all the resources that we need, and self-pace our do the trainings self-paced, like at our own convenient times. And so currently what we are doing, now that we still don't have a website running, currently what we are doing is using YouTube to air our videos, and using Google Drive to store some of our videos so that people can access them. People can access them for follow-up, and anyone who missed on a class can always attend. So why is the vision here again? So these are the two mega projects that we have. I believe you can see. That is buying a camera. And as I said, our main reason why we started the second training was to buy a good camera, quality camera that would help us practically teach the medical missionary work. Because with the first group, we are beginning our practical classes on herbology and botany on June, and some protocol treatments on June, and that really will require us to show practically how these herbal medicines are made, like the procedures. We are supposed to show them practically. And what will help us actually shoot these videos is a camera. Our website is a long-time project, something that myself I can work on and create. And I've given myself a deadline of September to create a website and have it running. For the camera, that's why we started the second training. Banking on faith that people really will register. That's why we have the registration fee. Actually, we have the registration fee for two things. Number one, to help us raise the sources. As you can see, it's 198,000 Kenyan shillings. That's around $1,000. It's around $1,000. It's quite a wild dream. The camera is quality, and it's a good one, and I believe it's achievable. This being God's work, and so for the second lot, 2 people have fully paid. We have 26 whom have registered their interest of joining the trainings, but 2 have fully paid, and our trainings begins tomorrow. Our trainings officially begins tomorrow. And with the second group, we are supposed to begin our practicals. We are supposed to begin the practical session on June also. And so I'm really afraid on how we'll begin the practical sessions without a camera. But I believe God will work ways. And so this is the picture of the camera that we purpose to buy. It's a Canon 90D. It's a quality picture. It's a very good camera for live streaming. It's a very good camera for recording videos, quality videos, and it will really help us in actually, once the website is up, we'll actually be using the camera to shoot videos and upload them online. And our main aim is to do all these freely. Our main aim is to have the website to be freely accessed by anyone who wishes to train as a medical missionary. I realized that when I was actually in my quench to to learn about the medical missionary work, I realized that most people, or rather most ministries that offer medical missionary trainings, they highly charge, which is really not favorable to some, and it makes people to shy off from training, and kills other people's dream. And that's what Gems of Insight actually wants to do away with. So in buying this camera, this is what we actually endeavor to do with it. Streaming with it, and it has a webcam utility that can help us stream in any website, in any software. As you can see, we normally use Google Meet for our meetings. It can help us stream to Google Meet. So when we have practical classes, we can always set up the stream and interact like on a one-on-one, as if we were in a class, actually practically attending a session. So this is what this camera will help us do. We'll be attending the sessions at our different countries, at our different homes and places of convenience, but it will be engaging and it will be more practical. And this camera will actually help us in doing that. And so some of the services that we offer currently as Gems of Insight, number one is health and lifestyle advice and consultation. And this we normally do it freely. And we write treatment protocols for patients which should be followed strictly with the health of experienced individuals. These I normally write them freely. And then we will provide missionary opportunities to affiliates. We actually currently we provide missionary opportunities, health expose. If we see someone potential enough to go to a mission as a medical missionary, we'll always find opportunities for them. On December, we'll have a mission that each and everyone who will be willing will be placed to actually go and work as a medical missionary to gain more practical knowledge. So those are the services that we offer, and this is the last slide. I invite us all to work together as we endeavor in proclaiming this word of this good news. The health message, we are told that the last, in which book is it? Is it 12MR? Manuscript Releases, volume 12, I believe. I'm forgetting the page. Okay, I've forgotten the page. But in Manuscript Releases, we are told that the very last test that is supposed to come to the church will come to us through the medical missionary work. So it's very essential for us to get hold of this work and to know what really is needed of us. And so that's our last slide, and I'll give room for question and answer session. Anybody with a question, anybody with a concern, this is the time for us to air them and to ask the questions before we conclude and officially begin and continue with our classes. So anyone with a question, anyone with a concern? Yes, Julia, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I have a question. I would like to know if those people that were in the first training can also join the second, because, for example, as for me, I joined the first training, but midway. So whatever was taught in the first training, is it what will be taught in the second training?
Okay, the question was noted. Frederick, you can go next. Frederick Mugambi. Frederick Mugambi, I believe you guys can hear me. Frederick Mugambi, you can go next so that I can take the two questions and answer them at once. It seems like he's not getting you, maybe he's having a problem with his network and is unable to unmute his mic. So I'll address the first question that was asked by our sister here, Julia, about the second training. About the first training. So, about the first training, this is what happened. When I was planning to do the trainings, I was actually planning to do it alone. And so the trainings actually began on February. And when we were rallying people to register for the trainings, it was to be a free training. But then after realizing actually that I couldn't do the trainings alone due to the nature of my schoolwork, and aside from that, I couldn't do it alone, yes. And then involving others would also mean giving them some token of appreciation for spending the quality time in sharing with us the knowledge that they've learned over time in the medical missionary work. Yeah, so I really thought it not wise to involve someone without appreciating them. And so we decided to have the free training for just a month, and it ran for, I think it was the second week of February all the way to the second week of March. Yes, all the way to the second week of March. It ran for a month in short. And on 12th March, we decided to begin a training that is paid for. But when we realized that not everyone paid and people really were intentional in attending the classes and gaining some knowledge, we decided to just let them attend the training. But the trainings, they've been systematic from February all the way to March. What we discussed on February, we didn't start afresh on March, but we continued. I shared the time, I shared the curriculum with us. When you compare the curriculum of the second training and the curriculum of this first training, there is no difference at all. But there are units that have brought together. In the second training, there are units that have merged together. But there is no difference in the content that will be covered. There is no difference in the time that we'll take in doing the trainings. The second trainings classes will last for 2 hours. The first trainings, the classes lasts for 1 hour, and it's for 90 days, like 90 classes. So far, we are not even halfway. We are in the 26th class, I believe, and there is still much for us to study. And so what we will be studying in the second, with the second cohort, it's the same with what we've studied with the first cohort and what we'll continue studying with the first cohort. There is totally no difference. But for the first cohort, we'll begin with the topics we began with on February. Like we will just do it systematically. But then, as you've noticed in the timetable of the second cohort that I sent, we have certain units that are interwoven with the first cohort, we decided to do anatomy and physiology all the way to the end without doing anything else, anatomy and physiology and diseases. After finishing a system, we do the diseases that are related to that system, and then continue all the way to the 11th system. We have 11 systems in our body. So we'll study the 11 systems with the first cohort and the second cohort. There's no difference. But the difference only comes in that with the second cohort, we'll interwove herbology, we'll interwove we'll involve the spiritual subjects and the health subjects together. So you've noticed that after studying one system, anatomy and physiology of a system, we have a prophecy class. Then after the prophecy classes are on Tuesdays. After the prophecy class, we have some 4 more sessions of studying the diseases that are related to the system that we discussed before the prophecy class. And then during the first month, that is May, we have laws of health, and then we have units of herbology there between. In the first class, we've not started with herbology. So the reason why I decided to start with herbology in the very first month was because when we were teaching the first class, we realized that there are certain essential lessons that we should have studied in herbology that are very important when we are studying diseases and their treatments. An example is methods of preparing herbs. We have 3 methods of preparing herbs, and in our unit of herbology, we'll be talking about those methods, storing herbs and all that. So we realized that talking about herbs before talking about how they can be used in treating diseases was very important, and that's where what pulled us behind is this project that we have of a camera. We realized that it's really not possible to do the unit in herbology unless it's practical. So in this project of ours, the camera project, as I said, it will help us interact like practically as if we were sitting in a class, in a physical class. What do I mean? We'll be projecting live videos during our classes. Teaching these hydrotherapies physically, preparations of these herbs. We'll be teaching them physically, getting the responses from you guys at the same time as we teach and showcase them physically. So there'll be no difference at all with us. Like there'll be no difference between us and people who attend physical trainings at retreat centers or sanitariums. So that's where our project comes. So I believe your question was answered, Julia. We'll be studying the same topics, and we'll always study anatomy and physiology deeply. Yes, Valerie, I can see your hand is raised. I don't know, Frederick, if you managed to troubleshoot the system. Can you unmute? Okay, Valerie, you can go ahead.
Yes, good evening, brothers and sisters. I'm so impressed with the way the Lord has led you in this project, and it really is such a privilege. Similar courses cost hundreds of dollars, and this is such a beautiful rate. And I just wondered if each of us could commit to ensuring that we do get the registration as soon as we can. Furthermore, that I'm going to speak to the agency of my local church, but if we could try to solicit donations towards the project so that we can get the camera, which would really help all of us with the course, with the training, even rather than, and we know that needed around about June when the practicals begin. So as the Lord leads, as the Lord touches and inspires our heart, I just wondered if we could all commit to trying to do our best. Well, in terms of our registration fee, just to get that paid as quickly as possible. But in terms of soliciting donations so that the camera can be, which would benefit all of us in training. Thank you.
Get our views on that.
I'm sorry, did everyone hear me? I didn't, I seem to have lost sound there a minute.
If you are clearly audible, from my end all the way to the end.
Okay, thank you.
So